Okay.
You said off my watch decibel meter, by the way, when you were talking on the field.
What time?
It said it was too loud. It was like between drills, maybe, or something.
I thought you were like a big concert guy.
I am. Because of my hearing's totally like screwed up from that.
Shocker.
Cameras ready?
You all ready to go? All right. You get up here and say the normal thing. Man, it's great to be back out there for the first time. We got a bunch of new guys. I mean, just master the obvious, right? But no, it was first practice for the 2025 football team. So, yeah, it's great to be back out there. We got 31 new guys out there today. And I've said this before where, in years past, you really, summertime would get here, and you'd be ready to put everybody, the final part of the team together, and, we go through summer practice and training camp, and everybody have, name tags on their helmets of who's who. And we get out there Thursday, and we'll have the name tags on their helmets now because, I mean, when you combine, 31 new people, which is the standard really in college football across the board now, plus all the daggum number changes. I mean, I got to put their name tags to see what numbers they're wearing now. So I've got nothing to do with the numbers, at all, as long as they're eligible, if they have to be eligible. So don't get in that world. But look, let's make no bones about it. What the mission and the goal is for this year, and that's to improve as a football team. All right, in order for us to take that next step, we've got to understand, what it is to be consistent in the way we prepare, the way we practice, the effort and the strain that we give, and how we go about just every day having a laser sharp focus on the job we have to get done. You want to chase consistency and avoid complacency. And I asked the team after practice, what's another word for complacency? And there's a lot of them. It's not lazy or tired. Complacency it's overconfident. It's ego. It's self-centered. All those words that come out, and that's what happens when people get that frame of mind. I'm not saying that's who we are, but we're going to be very transparent in the way we address things and how we want to prepare for the football season. So, we want to be a consistent football team, consistent players. We want to be, competitive. We want to love to compete. You really want to be a competitor as opposed to a player. You want to be somebody that seeks out the discomfort and the pain of preparation and doing the things that necessarily the normal person doesn't just want to do. In order to be a championship football team or to be a elite football player, you've got to do those uncomfortable things. All right, so every day that we go out there, all right, should be our ceiling. Okay, and that's something I've talked a lot about this off season about floors and ceilings. All right, if we have a good day, that's not as good as we can do. That's not the standard. All right, that should become the floor now of what we're competing towards. So have everybody make a commitment to each other that when we come out tomorrow or when we come in tomorrow and have meetings and walkthroughs and whatnot, tomorrow has to be better than Monday, right? And we have to make the commitment that Thursday has to be better than Tuesday. All right, that's the way you continue to raise that. All right, we don't want to look at this in terms of the ceiling and how good you can be. I mean, those ceilings need to become our floors if we want to elevate and take the next step. And that's what we've been preaching for the last 2 months to this football team. So that was a challenge to them. It'll be the challenge to them every day. The same message will come through every day to them that we've got to continue to improve each day because this is our journey for the 2025 football season, and we're well in the middle of it. So open that up to the questions.
Questions?
You have a new defensive coordinator, and it seemed like you got that done pretty quickly. Just what was it about Gideon that you liked, and how does he fit into what you were doing, and kind of what made him the guy for you to run your defense?
Yeah, I mean, vetted through a lot of different people, brought several people in, and had some really good candidates out there. I think when Tooch told the staff, and first I want to thank Tyler for the job he did this past year. There's zero ill feelings to someone that accomplishes what their dreams are, whatever it is. And so he told the staff, and on Saturday night, started making calls to people, And about 11:30 that night, I called Blake, and I think we hung up about a little after 1 in the morning. So as people know, I love to talk on the phone. I mean, I can't stand it. And to end up talking for an hour and a half to somebody, be like-minded in everything around the game. Didn't get into a lot of X's and O's. Just got into a lot of beliefs and how he was brought up and what he believes in, and it was a carbon copy. But there was a very specific thing we were looking for in a D coordinator, and we wanted to continue to play, and I made very clear that I wanted to continue to be able to play our front the way we've played our front and develop our guys up front and stop the run. All right, that's what has got to continue to progress. All right, and then have combinations in the back end, a coordinator that's back end driven, that can be a walk around coordinator, all right, and have his hands in all facets. I think Corey Peoples has developed on the staff over the last year as much as any coach we have, and really been proud of Corey and happy for him, and to see his progression over the last year as a coach and as a recruiter. But then to have someone else that's calling it from that back end, all right, and be able to play the same style up front, right, but then tweak the back end coverages, make it simple for guys, make it a great teacher, someone that has presence, can walk in a room, players can respect him, and Blake checked all those boxes.
You lost 3 important people from the offensive line. What are you seeing from the competition there, and especially at the center position where you really don't have much experience except for maybe Harrison?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of experience. We have a lot of talent. All right, and I'll take talent over experience any day. That's on us as coaches to coach those guys up and put them in a position to be able to help us this year. And there's only so many reps between now and the first game, and those guys got to get all of them. Everything you see is something different, something new. The speed of the game, when you got the ball in your hand and you're the first thing that happens offensively. But we got some super talented guys there. We really do. It's going to be a really good competition, like every position. My job as a head football coach is to put the best 11 guys out there on offense, defense, and special teams, right? And that's what we'll do. The competition you have in every room is what drives improvement. Right? That's what drives improvement in the individual players, but also in the positions on the football team. Right, so we've got a lot of competition there. We've got a lot of depth across the board on the O-line with some really talented young players. And it'll be how many reps we can get in and get these guys exposed to over the next, really, 5 months? 5, 6 months before we start playing. But I'm happy with the talent. I know we've got really, really good coaches coaching those guys. I believe in Jeep and the staff he has around him with the O-line. How about that? His O-line staff. But just seeing those guys today and seeing the coaches out there coach and teach, and a lot of guys moving around, a lot of guys coaching on special teams. It was good to see.
Jackson.
Oh, you're also losing a lot of experience and production along the defensive line. What are you looking to see from the new guys, whether it's transfers or young players stepping up and replacing them this spring?
Yeah, Mike showed me some stats, returning production or whatnot, and had like 33% of our total sacks was returning. And I said, oh, great, we got one coming back. So, we can always improve there. It wasn't like it was like 10 coming back out of 33 or something, So I've been pleased with the guys we brought in. I've been pleased with the development of some of the young guys. But I think the D-line is very similar to like the offensive line is. You have talented guys and just not a ton of experience. Well, the only way to get experience is to play the game. You can only do so many walkthroughs to understand what to do, but getting in the trenches and putting pads on. And today we don't. We got helmets on. Really not a contact day by any means. Once we start putting pads on, start thudding things up and seeing who can strain and finish and play with discipline and keep their hands inside and get off blocks and sustain blocks. Rush the passer, create a pocket on the offensive line. That's when things will start sorting themselves out.
From one spring to the next, how have you seen Philo and King grow, and then how can they kind of help give you that consistency that you're looking for going into fall?
Well, I've said this, and I'm not afraid to say this publicly. I do believe we have the best quarterback room in the country. With all guys returning, the competition that they have day to day. It's It's great from the quarterback room to the offensive meetings, offensive unit rooms, all of the, really across the board. I mean, look, you don't do some of the things Haynes did last year if you don't have Aaron Philo in there competing, and you're not able to come in if you're Aaron Philo and compete the way he did last year. If it wasn't for the other guys and for Haynes and for Graham Knowles, I mean, when you talk about somebody that's, changed the way they look and the way they throw the ball, I mean, he's, Graham's got as much upside as anybody. So we've got a really good room there. I fully expect these guys to compete every single day from now until the last snap of the last game of the season.
Hey, Coach, kind of bouncing off that last question, having that experience and, the best quarterback room in the country in your eyes, what does that do for the rest of the offense, just having that consistency there under center for them to kind of manage the rest of the offense as a whole? Yeah,
well, I mean, it goes from something that is elementary and basic as the cadence. To have somebody that's comfortable in the rhythm of the cadence and command of the offense and checks. And, as guys continue to elevate themselves and mature within a system, right, now they're able to get into good plays and out of bad plays and make checks and get the ball where it belongs. And, it just, there's a sense of calmness when you have that. When that true freshman gets out there, that first time out there quarterback, it's the first time everybody's heard his cadence, or you're going from an experienced guy to a guy that it might be his first day here, and just the jitters, and all of a sudden that clock's ticking down. It's just a sense of calm with everybody across the board.
Now, overall, this class was one of the best classes Georgia Tech has had in a while, but seeing guys like Josh Petty, Tay Harris, 2 top 10 recruits that, in regards to Georgia Tech history are really up there right now. What was it like to kind of see those guys out there on the field? I know they're sure very raw compared to a lot of the more experienced guys out there.
And history's now, and you're constantly writing history. And I look at those as 2 talented young players that have a true, love of football. They're competitors. And look, you can take all the rankings and media and all those things, and there's not one bit of that shows up in those guys. I mean, you talk about a group of freshmen that work as hard as I've ever seen, and really they check all the boxes. So now look, that doesn't mean every person that comes in that's a great talent is going to play day one. Right? Everyone's got to still develop and be at their own timeline. All right, but I think there's a lot of guys in that freshman class that have a chance to help us this year, whether it be the first game or the 6th game or the 10th game.
Go.
Do you have any injury updates on guys that might miss the spring? Or I know there's some guys that had injuries in the fall or the season that probably have some carryover through the spring.
Tell you what, I'll meet with the trainer today. I'll be ready to answer that next time I'm up. So spring is so fluid with injuries. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have, shoulders done in the 1st of December, and it's a 4 to 6 months. So 4 months you start doing a few things, 6 months you're back full go. So there's some guys out doing partial, some doing 75%, some doing 25%. It's, this is about time to get guys ready to play in the summer. So really injury updates don't mean much of anything at this point, unless somebody's going to be out for the whole season. And right now we're not looking at that. We're looking at guys being able to come out and, get themselves better. I mean, look, Kyle had Kyle Rod. I mean, they had shoulder surgery. Happens. 7, 8 guys a year probably on every team have something there, whether it be a knee scope or a labrum, and we'll work those guys in and manage them when they need to be in there. But this time's about developing the depth on your football team.
Do you allow yourself to step out there today and think how far you've come since your first spring practice to now, how far the program has come?
I didn't. A lot of new people out there, a lot of new faces, a lot of new challenges in front of us. The external challenges are a lot of times more difficult than the internal challenges. And being able to foresee those things and think of the things that could come our way, trying to put the right stuff in their heads now, and understand that the work now is what's going to pay off, come fall. Look, it drives me crazy. I don't want to sit there on a Saturday afternoon, all right, or a Saturday night or a Sunday and have guys talk all about what they could have done, should have done. All right, they need to be doing it right now. We need to be doing it right now. That starts with me as the head coach. I'll think about it some other day, though.
Let me know.
Player development is a big part of what you do. What have you seen from Bailey Stockton in his time here and where he is now?
Player development. How are you? Good. You good up there?
Yes, sir.
Is it fun? Look good, man.
Appreciate it.
Back here working out now?
Yeah.
Stop in and see you later. See how you doing?
Oh, well.
All right, man. I saw you a little bit on TV.
Yes, sir.
That's another thing. I've talked to our guys a lot about that this offseason. I said, think about right now if you were getting ready to, if the NFL draft was in 3 months and you were preparing to go to the combine today, you were preparing for the NFL draft, what would you do different with your body? What would you do different with your, when you're away from here than you did yesterday? Well, this year you put on tape's a lot more important than your 2 months of training you're going to get next year. So let's have that mindset now. It was good to see some of those guys back in town after the combine now. That's something we expect here to continue to happen more and more and more. That's the expectation as we continue to move forward. So what was your question again?
Player development, and what have you seen from Bailey Stockton in his time here and where you see him now, as being a big part of the receiver room?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things me and Bailey could talk about personally, but I wouldn't share up here of development with him. He's awesome. I love Bailey. Little slot machine out there. He's able to, run all the routes and sure-handed and able to find the open, the voids and zones and having, enough just smarts in the slot and body control to be able to win in man. I mean, he's a really good player for us. I'm expecting big things from Bailey this year.
Time for a couple more. Come back here again.
You added Brian Bohannon to your staff this offseason. What will he bring to y'all in 2025?
Another coach. The thing last year when everybody said, when they came out and said everybody can coach, my big thing was we can't just have everybody running around out there and coaching, because the same message has to be driven to these kids with every other. Otherwise, you're speaking a foreign language to them. If somebody's saying something, somebody's saying the other. I think that rule was passed in June, July, something like that last year. Right before camp. Well, now we've had a year to be in this. Okay, we've had a year to guys get here in January and they're with the program now. 2 months, 3 months involved. You're able to have a lot of coaches. Okay, and there's a fine line between having the right number of coaches, not having enough coaches, and having too many coaches, I believe. I think there's a line. You don't just acquire coaches to acquire them. You have to have a sense and a purpose for them. So I built out a pro forma of how I want every position to be coached. And look, there's position coaches, there's assistant position coaches, and there's quality controls. And the QCs are really what GAs formerly were for the most part. And then some positions have assistant position coaches. I mean, we have an assistant offensive line coach. Mike Polly's come in and replaced Alan Mogridge. I mean, but the things you do with 5 guys, you got to have that. I mean, we have 2 DB coaches, 2 QCs on the back end. We have 2 D line coaches, and it could be 3 D line coaches. You really have, I consider, DeAndre Smelter's assistant receiver coach with what he is able to bring to the table and how he goes about it. So the world of 10 coaches doesn't exist anymore. Okay, and it's about finding the right number for your staff. And Bo has been a tremendous help offensively. I expect him to continue to be, but he's been a really big help for me too. Right, anytime you can have someone else in the building that's setting that seat, and you can bounce things off of or share things with, or sometimes just vent to. It's been a huge help. And Don Ely, Tim McFarland. I mean, now Bo. I mean, just having those guys that have experienced long times of being a head football coach, they're invaluable to me.
You hired Kobe Jones to coach corners guy that's really up and coming. And it's interesting. You mentioned Mike Polly and Gideon with Sark and Kobe Jones with Don, and these connections that you have with these guys, Mike Polly with Buster and Jeep. Just how does that kind of help to have those connections when you make these hires, to have the interconnectivity where these guys have worked together or
Yeah.
been coached or whatever, to trust to bring into your program?
Yeah, that's a good question because there's an old saying, if you've never worked with somebody or somebody you would trust your children with, have worked with somebody, don't hire them because there's unknowns. And there's, I have a list of so many names of people for every position that you just kind of keep old words, a Rolodex or whatnot, but I think it's all on iPhones now. But you have those lists. But when you can call somebody that you trust, that you've worked with, that you've been in the battles with, and even people maybe you haven't worked with, but you have a super amount of trust in. Rick Stockstill's one of them. And those guys all kind of came through. Stock, Polly was one of them, and you just really trust when those guys call and tell you something. You believe them, all right, and you stick with it, and it's big. It really is, because if you look at everybody on the staff, there's pretty similar trees everyone's come from. There might be a few offset branches here and there, but everyone's pretty much come from the same type of program structure of a program. So when they get here, there's not the go back to square one, explain every single thing to them. You just kind of hit the ground running, and they fall in line with it. So it makes it a lot easier with the transition times.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Coach.
That's it. All right, appreciate y'all. Go Jackets.
Appreciate you guys.